Etowah County Sheriff Todd Entricken has made headlines for pocketing hundreds of thousands of taxpayer dollars.
And he profited from a fund meant to feed inmates at the county jail, even buying a nice house in Orange Beach.
Now, it's completely legal, but is it moral? NBC 15 investigated whether sheriffs in our area also take a big piece of the pie for themselves.
As NBC 15's Cassie Fambro discovered in tonight's reality check, some of them are.
The law that allows sheriffs to keep inmate food money is 90 years old. Most of the sheriffs I talk to call it antiquated and unrealistic, but some see dollar signs, like Etowah County Sheriff Todd Entricken, who's accused of pocketing extra money at the expense of inmates. Every year, sheriffs are required to disclose extra income on state ethics forms. Etowah County Sheriff Todd Entricken reported collecting more than $700,000 in state taxpayer money over 3 years. It came from a fund meant to feed his county's inmates, but under Alabama law, there's nothing wrong with the sheriff keeping that money. Many people were angered to learn Entricken bought a $740,000 house on the canal in Orange Beach. The sheriff says he didn't use the jail food money he kept for that.
This is a bald-faced lie. My wife and I bought property at the beach. That's the only part of any of this that's true.
We looked at those same ethics forms for sheriffs in our area, finding that Baldwin County, Clark County, and Conecuh County sheriffs all reported between $1,000 and $10,000 of additional income. It gets a little hazy because while Entricken mentioned the food fund, other sheriffs list that money as fees. Each sheriff gets 5 cents per inmate per day from the state to manage their food programs. But in Mobile County, the sheriff never gets any food money because the county commission controls it. That's also allowed by state law, but Mobile County Commission is among the very few that use that power. It's because Sheriff Sam Cochran's predecessor was also accused of tucking away food fund money into his own retirement account.
We award a 3-year contract, and that amount right now averages around $2.87 a day. So the state gives us $1.75 a day, and the county commission picks up in our budget the remaining difference. There are no excess funds left because we can't feed them for $1.75 a day here in Mobile County.
In Clark County, Sheriff Ray Norris says $1.75 a day per inmate the state pays for food is not enough.
I want to stress $1.75 a day. That's 55 cents per meal. And a lot of people mistake that. That's not $1.75 a meal.
The Clark County Commission makes up the difference, but still falls short. Sheriff Ray says the food fees he claimed on his ethics forms go right back into the food pot.
I had to show that on the ethics form because it was paid to me personally for managing the food. I had to pay taxes on it, so I had to show it. But guess what? I spend every cent of that on food. I don't have an option but pay it out of my salary.
Norris tells us he goes out of his way to shop for food discounts.
I drive even over into Mississippi buying food. We shop for deals. That's what we have to do.
In Baldwin County, Sheriff Hoss Mack also doesn't get enough from the state, but he has 2 ways to balance the books.
One of which is with the United States Marshal Service to house federal inmates. We get $40 a day for those inmates. We also house inmates for the city of Bay Minette who does not have a jail.
Those contracts offset the cost of feeding inmates.
If we had to rely on just the $1.75 a day, we would lose $800 a day on the feeding of inmates.
As for the food fees he receives,
for several years when I first took office, I refused to take the money. And then we had a state audit, and because it was listed under my Social Security number, they said, no, not only do you have to take it, but you also have to pay the taxes on it.
Mack told us he pays the taxes, but gives the money to local charities. We did drive all the way up to Evergreen to the Conecuh County Sheriff's Office, but Sheriff Randy Brock was not in and did not respond to repeated calls. His records, too, show that he declared between $1,000 and $10,000 in state food allowance on his ethics forms. Sheriffs Norris, Mack, and Cochran all want the state to make permanent changes.
Primarily, a lot of things have changed since the initial law was written in the 1930s.
And the state has only given us $1.75 in their state inmates. The state's responsible for the difference, and the state should change the law because the state is the one that has the law on the books.
Keep the money in Montgomery and take us out of it.
For now, Norris and others have to make ends meet.
This is human beings we're talking about. This is not animals. So we have to feed them, and we have to feed them properly.
Since the legislature has not enacted statewide reform, local governments have passed ordinances that forbid sheriffs to profit from their inmate food funds. One of those counties, Etowah County, and several others are looking to follow suit. Reporting in Mobile, Cassie Fambro, NBC 15 News.